was born, this massive online education, and I've given you some three babies that were born out of this. One is, of course, NPTEL, which stands for National Program on Technology Enhanced Learning. It's a project under MHRD initiative called NMEICT. It's called the National Mission on Education through Information and Communication Technology. So NPTEL is run as a project and has been running as a project. And then you have open online universities that have sprung up across the globe. I'm not just saying in the country. And more recently, online certification courses, which many of us are aware of. So I just want to know by show of hands, how many of you have actually been familiar or in touch with this online certification courses? Can I have, please, by show of hands? Well, that's very good. That's encouraging. But I think there are many who are not familiar with it. And of course, there may be more who are familiar with NPTEL simply because it's been there for a long time and also it has reached many. I'm just going to focus on the NPTEL and the MOOC. There are several other online certification courses available in the globe, but MOOC has its own specialty and draws a lot of attention today, increasing success and so on. So the question, of course, is what does it involve? And I'm not going to really deliberate too much on this. I just want to give you a glimpse of what is involved in digital education. There are many things. The most important thing, of course, is to have a platform for disseminating knowledge. First of all, it's you have to bring the teachers and students together, and that's what communication technology does for us. But just having a communication interface is not enough. What is extremely important is to have a platform for disseminating knowledge. This is for the teachers. And setting up learning mechanisms. This is for both teachers and students. Remember, every teacher is also a student. And then most importantly, which is often ignored, is evaluation schemes. We think always that teaching involves sharing knowledge and the student learns, and that's the end of the story. The evaluation is the most important and critical part of any teaching process. So getting feedback, not just evaluating. Evaluation includes obtaining feedback. So we need to set up a seamless platform, and that's what the MOOC presently is doing it, and probably a few other online certification courses. So there are several components associated with this. You need something on online tutoring and mentoring, for example. Or you need to, and of course you need to have analytics. So you know data sciences is a big field today, and I also happen to be specializing in that area. So you need analytics to understand behavioral patterns of learners. When I say learners, everyone. And also, it's quite important to recognize the student talent through their participation, not just through how many wrote exams and so on. The participation also tells you that there is a lot of talent in the country. I have been associated with MOOC, the online course platform, and it was an eye-opener for me in many respects. But what struck me is that there is so much talent in this country that so many are thirsty for knowledge, and when given the right opportunity and the right platform, they excel. They excel much better than many of our bright students, I should say, in IIT. So, which means there is so much to tap into, and there are so many that are waiting for this education to reach their doorsteps. The earlier speaker talked about healthcare reaching the doorsteps, and now we are talking of education reaching their doorsteps, assuming that all are healthy and so on, and in a position to receive education. So there are a few other things which I have not listed because it's a long thing to discuss about. Now, as far as the future is concerned, these are some of the digital skills. Again, this list is not exhaustive. This also tells you what is involved and convinces us to go for the digital way as far as education is concerned. A part of it has got to do with literacy with computers. A part of it has got to do with how we use those computers or mobiles and so on for learning. And again, I'm not going through the list. I'll just spend the next half of the talk very quickly on talking about NPTEL and in particular MOOC. So as I said, NPTEL is a national program on technology enhanced learning. It's run in a project mode under NMEICT. If you look at the history of NPTEL, it began formally in 2003. Efforts proceeded much earlier. And of course, Professor Mangal Sundar is here. If you have any questions concerning the history of NPTEL, but it ran for about 10 plus years and it went in 2 phases. We generated a number of courses, and to give you some stats here, I hope all of you can see. So we have about 1200 plus courses. These were in 2 formats, web and video formats. So when I say web, text formats and video formats, and then we gradually built text transcripts and subtitling and all of that. And I'm not going to read out the numbers. These numbers actually really tell you as to how successful the NPTEL is. And we have some of the state-of-the-art infrastructure here as far as generation of course content is concerned. And when I say state-of-the-art, it includes audio, video, recording studios, and so on, right? So that was, I would say, in an asynchronous, as they say, or I would say a dictionary word is passive mode that NPTEL went in, and people continue to read the benefits of it, but we wanted a more active phase of NPTEL. If you go to the NMEICT website, it will tell you digital empowerment for students and teachers in synchronous and asynchronous manner. That's what I saw there. Essentially, it means active and passive, but more, I think synchronous and asynchronous is more technically correct. So that's why we went to the online mode, where people would actually get particularly a certificate at the end of the course. And there are several components to this online thing. I'll come back to this slide. These are, so on the right, you see the components of a MOOC, Massive Open Online Course. You have the course content creation, and then a systematic release of the video content every week, roughly about 2 to 3 hours, depending. And then you have different formats of a MOOC. You have 4-week, 8-week, 12-week, and so on, that suits the course content and the audience. And more importantly, there are discussion forums and possibilities for live discussions between the teachers and the students. And that's what makes it much, much better than what we went through for 10 years through NPTEL. And then finally, the evaluation through which the student is assessed. So there is something called an enrollment and there is a registration. Enrollment is just subscribing to the course where you have access to the content, and registration is registering for the exam. The beauty of all of this is it's all for free. There is nothing, the student doesn't pay anything except for writing the exam, because we have a third party conducting the exam for us. So there is a fee of 1,000 rupees that the student has to pay in order to write the exam, and these are mostly proctored exams. When I say mostly proctored exams, sometimes we may have to run an unproctored exam, because if the third party, which happens to be TCS for us, is unable to provide the support that we require to conduct the exam, then we may have to go by a code of honor and so on. But by and large, this fee is for writing the exam. NPTEL doesn't get any benefit of it. On the left-hand side, you see the statistics for enrollment and registration. There's a huge difference between enrollment and registration. The general correlation is about 6 to 10% of people who enroll end up writing the exam. And there are various reasons why this is a very small thing, but this is what we want to address. And I think it's extremely important, therefore, to continue with this, and that the ministry actually continues the support for online certification. Of course, there was also mention of SWAYAM in the keynote talk today. So the ministry has launched SWAYAM recently, and most of the courses that you see on SWAYAM today come from MOOC. So today, if you look at the history of MOOC, starting from about 2014, we have 355 courses that we have already conducted, and I'm giving you the number of enrollments and so on. And this is, if you look at the certificate here, this is a typical certificate, and there are levels of certificate. You can get a gold medal and so on. But as I said, please don't expect any gold on the certificate. It's a soft gold. It's not a hard gold. So it's very easy to give that, but it's very difficult to get it. You have to do very well both in the assignments and the final exam. So that way we are not compromising on the quality. There is a minimum passing mark and so on. So there are different graded certificates, and there are many students, as I'll show you in a 2-minute video towards the end, as to how they feel proud about it, getting the certificate. So I just want to get into the last leg of my talk, where how we interface with different stakeholders, if I may use the word, the students, and the colleges and the industry. So when I say students here, the student need not be from a college. That's the beauty of a MOOC. There is no age restriction, right? And there is no bar on any kind. As long as you are able to, read a computer and do well and so on, or even a mobile, you're in. On the other hand, there are colleges now, as I don't know how many of you know, AICT and UGC have actually said that 20% of the courses can be drawn from online, which is very good. It's a good sign that we are going online in terms of learning. So many colleges now insist either for the faculty and or their students that they should take online courses. So we interface with the colleges through what are known as local chapters. We have NPTEL local chapters, and then we have SPOC, single point of contact, and so on. We train them, we conduct specific workshops. There was a workshop exactly 1 week ago in the same venue here for the SPOCs from various colleges across the country. And more importantly, we would now like to interface with industry. We have some interface, but we would like to enhance that, and I'm just going to talk about that. This is just a stats of who are all involved in this course content creation, and of course, I'm proud to say that IIT Madras has contributed the maximum. There are a couple of other IITs as well, whom I would like to acknowledge. So this is just to give you a learner profile, and this shows you who, what is the composition of these people who are subscribing to these courses. You have students, you have faculty, and you have industry and so on. And on the right top, you see the pass rate, fairly high. And at the end of any course, we do take feedback, and we ask why they have taken this course, why they have not taken the exam, and so on. So there are several reasons here. I'm not going to go over them. We can, of course, share the presentation with all of you. I just want to end the talk by talking about how we would like to interface and engage with the industry. So there are several avenues here, and those avenues here are given on the right. On the left, of course, I'm just talking about future initiatives. But let me focus on the right here. We can actually help the industry, that is, the MOOC can actually help industry get their employees trained by creating, of course, courses, not definitely to a specific company and so on, but if there is a big industry that wants to come together and say, look, we need some kind of training in terms of knowledge and so on, definitely we can do that. Then we can also do a lot of, what do you say, skill generation. For example, if you're looking at potential employees, right? If you're looking at potential employees, then we can share with the permission of the people who participate, with the consent of the people who subscribe to this MOOC, we can share the database with you so that you can now tap into the country's talent much more easily than what you have been doing otherwise. And there are a couple of other things, but I would just like to also point out a CSR opportunity for the industry. There are many students who do not write exams because they cannot afford the 1,000 rupee fee. And we are unable to do away with or waive the 1,000 rupees fee on our own. So as industry, you can come forward and sponsor the students. None of this money will go to NPTEL. It straight goes to the student who wants to write it. And believe me, there are many students who do not write the exam just because they cannot afford this 1,000 rupee fee. So if you can come forward in this respect, there are many other CSR opportunities, of course. But this is just one that I want to mention. And we want to take this forward. There is, as I said, there is a huge gap between enrollment and registration. And that gap can be filled only by addressing all the factors. Now, please remember that MOOC is, compared to NPTEL, a baby. It's a growing child. It's just 3 years old. So we are trying to understand what it takes to rope in more people and what it takes to attract a lot more. And it turns out a lot of this has got to do with awareness, with empowering them, and also encouraging them to write exams and so on, and importantly connecting them with industry. So all of this takes, I would say, coordinated effort between the ministry, industry, and us, of course, and hopefully that will happen in the near future. I just want to end this talk with just a 2-minute video. Just shows you some feedback on how the people who have taken.
I enrolled for embedded systems. Introduction to data analytics and machine learning.
Introduction to modern application development, project planning and control.
Introduction to programming in सीख था.
I did the health research fundamentals.
Introduction to airplane performance.
This is my 11th exam.
5 certificate कर चुका हूँ मैं.
I'm an associate professor in chemistry at Pachayappa's College, Chennai.
Research scholar.
I'm a scientist in DRDO.
Employed in TVS Group.
I'm a pediatrician.
Completed my 12th.
I'm working in the Adyar Cancer Institute in Chennai.
I feel much happy to attend this exam.
Learning experience is excellent.
With respect to NPTEL, the quality of lectures and delivery, the contents to the students, no doubt, unquestionable.
I've been traveling more than 2 hours daily. I just hearing the entire video conversation throughout my journey, like not sitting in home.
The course content was very extraordinary, to be precise.
Expecting to get gold medal by IIT, but I don't know it will be there or not.
It's a nice opportunity for people outside of IITs to be able to take an exam that is conducted by IIT, so the standards are pretty good, obviously.
I have learned more in these 3 months than taking some papers in the college.
Even at the age of 50 plus, we are getting some enthusiasm to go through all these lectures and all those things.
Another person from my college has taken it in another center, and both of us feel that the teaching was absolutely brilliant throughout the course. And it's not only theory, even practice is there. They actually showed us through the flight lab, and they actually had very, very practical examples.
For youngster, definitely it is useful. But this type of courses, if you find in other places, it is very, very costly. But here it is, for learning purpose, it is cheap. For obtaining a certificate, it is only a nominal fees.
This course was really like bringing a